To be or not to be an original. Exploring Nidbak by Shaanan Streett. And in particular, we're exploring these ideas of identity and differentiating yourself from the crowd. A little bit of background on Shaanan Streett. He's the lead lyricist and vocalist with Hadag Nahash. I'm sure you've heard of the band. They're one of Israel's top bands, producing 8 hit albums since the year 2000 with a couple of live albums as well. This song is from his 3rd solo album called Idealim. Shaanan is also a screenwriter, a blogger and an activist, as you'll very much hear from the song itself. But to add something to your understanding of Shaanan and these questions of identity and individual versus collective, several years ago, Shaanan gave an interview to a newspaper and talked about how he was aware that he is an original, original, he said, meaning not that I am unique in some kind of raised up level, but that I'm a one-off, I'm an original, I don't necessarily follow the crowd. And this is something which I think we can explore in this song as to whether this leaves one feeling alone or exceptional in a good way. And being an original or being an individual standing against the crowd, is that a choice or is that your nature? Is that just your personality? Do some of us naturally join in the flow and some of us naturally stand firm against it? So I recommend you go off and listen to the song right now. If you click on the link in the top right with that I, you can find the link together with its subtitles in English. We've also put the link down in the comments below. I'll see you in a minute. So before we go any further, we have to enjoy the wordplay of Shaanan's writing, playing with infection. By the way, on his mask is printed, "You will not shut my mouth, lo testemuli et tape." You'll not shut my mouth, as he has a mask over his mouth. Playing with infection because he's playing with this word lo nidbakli. This emerges from the root daled bet kuf, these 3 letters on which Israeli words are built. And from this one root, you get the word for glue in Hebrew, devek. You get the word for a sticker, madbeka. And you get the word to infect, lehadbik. Nidbakti, I have been infected. And the fact that this song and its video came out at the height of the first wave of COVID-19, you can see how nonidbakli plays with the idea that I'm not infected by an idea, that an idea doesn't stick with me, it doesn't stick to me. The play between infection and sticking is one of those classic word plays that Shaanan Streett uses in all his writing, solo and for the band Hadag Nahash. A couple of references which are worth exploring, with or without a B'Tselem report. In this song, it's pretty clear that Shaanan Streett is coming from the place of an activist, coming from a left-wing perspective on Israeli politics. And in particular, when he's referring to B'Tselem, round about that time, B'Tselem, the Israeli Information Center for Human Rights in the occupied territories, came out with a controversial report stating very clearly that the situation in Israel vis-à-vis the Palestinians is apartheid, and that the whole country is an apartheid state. You can imagine it caused a great stink, and what the song is suggesting is that I know the situation of justice and injustice, and I don't need a report from B'Tselem to tell me how bad I think things are. But at the same time, what we're getting from this song is that there's also a refusal to go along with the general pessimism or even nihilism of those on the left in Israel. It would seem that Shaanan Streett is saying in this song, I know it's depressing, things are awful, but is it really an emergency? Is it something that I need to get incredibly depressed about, or can I keep working? And so he refers to this idea, is it an emergency or just blank, blank, blank? Now that is a very specific political reference to the assassination of Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin. If you remember, back in 1994, Yitzhak Rabin led Israel into the Oslo Accords and signed a peace treaty with the Palestinians. But in November 1995, he was assassinated. He was shot by Yigal Amir. This is an image of the assassination which was taken from closed-circuit cameras and transposed into a piece of street art by Yigal Stein. Just by the way, you would have found this in Tel Aviv, but then it got painted over, seemingly by mistake, by the city council. But as you can imagine, when a head of state is assassinated, conspiracy theories abound. And one conspiracy theory which has made it through to the public imagination is that somebody shouted blank, blank, blank when Yigal Amir shot Rabin 3 times. And the conspiracy goes that there were security folks around Rabin who had kind of staged this assassination attempt, who had made sure that there were blanks in the gun, and so were shouting out, "Don't worry, this is just a staged assassination attempt." And then the conspiracy goes on to suggest that Rabin was killed later and not actually by Yigal Amir. Be that as it may, the idea that if it's an emergency or just blank, blank, blank is what you shout when someone's being shot, but there actually aren't bullets in the gun. It's not a real emergency. That lovely line, maybe it's just me or maybe it's not just me. And there in that chorus, the singer seems to be saying, am I alone? Or actually maybe I'm not alone. Maybe you also agree with me that I'm not going along with this tale of woe. It may well be that I'm not alone in my standing firm against the way that it seems that on the one hand, the whole of Israeli society is moving away from my ideals, but at the same time, maybe it's not entirely lost. And again, we have this beautiful image. Obviously, the video was made by somebody else entirely, not by Shaanan, who wrote the song, but this lovely image of being a fish out of water or only a fish out of the sea. Would we say that this goldfish is a fish out of water? I mean, the fish is in water, just not in the sea. And anyway, if you were to put a goldfish in the sea, it would die because it's not a saltwater fish. Have you ever felt that you're the only person on the planet with your beliefs and values? Or would you say that you're part of a silent majority? That you're not actually so alone, it's just that people aren't shouting out that they agree with you? And if you feel isolated, in particular with your ideals, do you end up doubting yourself? Or does your isolation make you hold even stronger to your rare beliefs? Because it certainly seems to strengthen Shaanan Streett in this song. Won't do me no harm to take a breath, everyone shouting fire. Again, he's staying cool. He's not buying into catastrophe. He's not buying into throwing everything away and just running. I'm going to take a breath, he says. What would you say is the difference between being stubborn and being authentic, true to yourself, being original? And where do you get your courage to take a breath? How do you manage to find that space for yourself to assess what you think in relation to what everyone else is thinking? And at the end of the song, we have this very interesting, ambiguous comment. Now, bring me a glass of arak, because something that broke off returned and stuck to me again. It sounds like that some of this optimism and some of this ability to put off worrying about something, to put off despair, it kind of snuck its way back into Shaanan Streett's mind, and now he needs to get drunk. He just needs to forget. Maybe it's not healthy to be non-stick, that nothing sticks to Shaanan Streett. Nidbak, I brush it off all the time. Is that healthy? Like, on the one hand, it means that nothing is troubling him in that sense. It doesn't get through, and when it does get through, he needs to wash it away with alcohol. But maybe to feel more where the crowd is going, is a better option. Who knows? This has been an exploration of To Be or Not to Be an Original, exploring Nidbak by Shaanan Streett. Hope that you enjoyed it. It was brought to you in partnership with Moishe House and generously funded by the Jim Joseph Foundation, created by Makom, the Israel Education Lab of the Jewish Agency for Israel. Thank you.